All right, so you absolutely love the environment. You consider yourself an environmental justice warrior. You want to do everything in your power to help reduce your emissions that you produce when you're living in your home, driving, the way you eat, all that sort of stuff. The environment is so important to everybody. The politicians out there and even our own government are really driving the cleanup of our economy, absolutely driving the electrification of, well, almost everything, and also increasing the carbon taxes, not only provincially, but also federally, to get us off of using greenhouse gases to heat our homes, fuel our vehicles, etc. Now, you, just like me, are probably completely on board with the fact that we need to get off fossil fuels. But of course, the problem with this is the cost.
The cost.
That's right. This all costs money, and it's money out of your pocket. And of course, making your home more environmentally friendly, well, it's not overly sexy. So how does someone like you or like me help protect the planet, help transition over to green energy without breaking the bank? Can we actually do this all while saving the planet? Well, if you're someone that's watching this video that lives in British Columbia, or you're someone that lives in the area that our real estate team services, this video is definitely for you because I'm going to teach you all about this today. You're going to learn exactly what you can do to become an environmental champion in your own household. I'm also going to arm you with the information to move forward and also give you the information on how to do this without absolutely breaking the bank. And lastly, you're going to feel really good about not only the information, but also your ability to make this transition for not only your future, the planet's future, and the future of all of our children. You're going to want to make sure that you hang around to the very end as well, because I am going to make available the resources that I talk about in today's video, and also how you can get your hands on some of these enormous rebates that are available to help greenify your home. Is greenify even a word? It should be. So with that being said, let's get started. And if you're new to the channel, you might be wondering who I am. My name is Darren German from the German Group. I am a realtor for the last 16 years in the Surrey, BC area, and I've been fortunate enough to be in the top 1% of the industry for quite a long time. I was fortunate to just go through a presentation where I learned all about this stuff by a company out of Victoria called CityGreen. CityGreen is there to help with the design and the delivery of energy efficiency programs, do research and analysis, training and education, marketing and outreach, energy evaluations, and more. This presentation was awesome too, because it was designed for realtors to help them better understand energy efficiency, to help them better describe the value of energy efficiency to their clientele. And also really generally why it matters and why it's going to be such a big impact on the way that we sell homes and the way that people buy and sell homes in the future. I was absolutely blown away by some of the information in this presentation, so we're going to dive into that right now. And I want you to forget about all the stuff you've probably heard about energy efficiency in homes. Not that it's not important, but that's not the purpose of today's video. We're not going to talk about things like upgrading all your lights to LED. We're not going to talk about things like putting in new windows to increase your insulation, even though all of that sort of stuff is important. I'm going to give you some of the major, hardest hitting items that you can do in your home to have the biggest impact. So without further ado, let's get into it. One thing that I was pretty excited to learn in this presentation is that BC has some of the cleanest energy in all of North America. Actually, not some of the cleanest, the cleanest. We are number one. The problem with this, however, is that 70% of our economy is still powered by fossil fuels, which is a big no-no. And this shift is not just about going to electric cars like you might think, and that's kind of what's portrayed in the media. It's so much bigger than that. In Metro Vancouver, over 90% of greenhouse gas emissions comes from the burning of natural gas. Natural gas produces 16 times more greenhouse gas emissions than electricity does in BC. Furthermore, out of that natural gas, most of it goes into heating the spaces that we live in and also heating the hot water that we use for things like cooking, showers, baths, all that sort of stuff. It is an absolutely minuscule percentage that goes into things like cooking food, or what other uses you might have for natural gas. To put this into perspective, when you heat a home with oil, you release about 6 to 12 tons of greenhouse gases per year. Gas heating is 2.5 to 10, and what we're going to talk about a little bit today in the video is heat pumps, which do under 1 ton per year. Before I dive into what a heat pump is, let's talk about the reasons why this might be important to everybody. Again, if you live in British Columbia, you are very familiar with climate-related disasters. It seems we have some pretty significant forest fires every year. We had the heat dome in 2021, which recorded a high of 49.6 degrees Celsius in Lytton, BC. Now, you may have remembered Lytton, BC from the news because a lot of it burned down. During that heat dome, there was 595 deaths in our province related to just that. And of course, we've also got the floods that happened in Abbotsford. All pretty significant stuff, right? So our homes must get more resilient, and we can do things to make them that way. We can do things to make our homes more energy efficient, and that comes down to the way that we plant trees or build the homes facing north and south. We can have things like airtight windows and doors, and we can also have better ventilation and filtration systems to our house, like things like heat recovery vents and whatnot. The major items that we put into our homes, such as furnaces, can also be replaced by things like electric furnaces and heat pumps to really maximize the amount, or better, lessen the amount of greenhouse gases that are developed just by heating our homes. You've also got the option of adding things like solar panels, or you've got things like tankless hot water systems that don't store a bunch of hot water for no reason all throughout the day. This goes on further to say that we could do electric vehicles, which is obviously a huge push, but we've got lots of opportunity for electrification in our homes. Also including having induction stoves.
What?
And I know if you have a gas stove, you probably absolutely love it. And by all means, it doesn't look like those are going away anytime soon, except maybe in the city of Vancouver, but who knows what the future will hold for electric stoves. Gas stoves, not electric. Gas. So talking about electrification, it's important to note that when we talk about heating our homes and maybe installing an electric furnace and a heat pump versus having a furnace that is gas, is everybody wants to put the brakes on and say, well, gas is so much cheaper to operate in a home regarding your utility bills than it is to heat with electric heat. Anybody that's got baseboard heat that maybe lives in a townhome knows exactly what I'm talking about. Well, don't forget that there is some significant, not fines or penalties, but taxes that are on the way that are going to significantly impact your use of natural gas in the future. In fact, in 2022, the federal government introduced or upped the federal carbon tax to $50 per ton. That number is due to go up to $170 per ton in 2030, which is going to have a significant increase on your bills. They estimate for the average home that once this full carbon tax is implemented, it's going to cost the average household an additional $700 per year just to use natural gas to heat their homes. And it's not just the federal government that's on top of this as well. Even our provincial government in British Columbia is all over making this transition. There is going to be lots of things going on with new construction and the energy labeling of houses, and there may even be energy labeling of houses in the resale market as well in the future. However, the BC government is also mandating that by 2030, all new water and space heating equipment must be energy neutral, meaning it must be 100% energy efficient by the year 2030. If you want a little bit more information on this, I will put a link down below in the description to BC Hydro's electrification plan, which was produced in September of 2021. So jumping back to heat pumps a little bit, I'm going to explain how they work in a moment, but obviously installing an extra piece of equipment is costly. You know, a heat pump is going to cost you on average probably in and around $15,000 to $16,000 to have installed. However, a high efficiency gas furnace being replaced into a home that doesn't have high efficiency gas can still run a pretty penny and could be anywhere between $10,000 to $17,000. Now, the government does have rebates, and when you're installing a furnace, that rebate's going to leave you with an average of about a $5,000 cost to install a gas furnace and about a $6,000 cost to install an electrified heat pump. And this heat pump is going to save you some serious money over the long term. So how does a heat pump work and what exactly does it do? Well, to make it really simple, it takes heat from the air, regardless of whether it's hot or cold outside, and kind of transfers it with the air in the home. This means in the summertime, if your house is too hot, it takes air from inside the house and blows it outside and takes cool air from outside and brings it into the house, all using a refrigerant system. And the same is in the winter. When your home is supposed to be warm inside and the furnace would normally kick in, what a heat pump is doing is taking energy from the air from the outside and using its refrigeration system to now heat up the air on the inside of your home. They're very, very cool systems. I'm not going to jump into explaining all the ways that a heat pump works here, but that's effectively what it is. And as I mentioned before, they are way, way more efficient than just having a furnace alone. Even for those of you that have air conditioning units, the fact that a heat pump works all year long is quite incredible. There's also some benefits to having a heat pump as well, outside of just saving money. You're going to experience things like year-round comfort, maximum efficiency, and cost savings, as I mentioned, low carbon heating and cooling. You'll have zonal heating options within your home, which is great because you're not heating a whole house for no reason like you do with a furnace system. It works in cold climates. There is ductless options, so if you're someone that doesn't already have a central air system in their home, you can still do this. And it's an ideal upgrade from electric baseboard, wood, or gas heating systems generally. So there you go. Having a heat pump is going to be a huge benefit to people moving forward. And there is some massive, massive rebates that are available to people that are interested in maybe getting a heat pump, and you might look at doing this while they're still available. And just before you light up the comment sections with some concerns, I'm going to try and address a few right here. One of the things we hear very frequently is, well, what about my gas stove? I love cooking with my gas stove. Where are those going? Or what about your gas fireplace? Are those going to go anywhere as well? Well, the answer to that is kind of tricky because we don't know what might happen tomorrow, but what we do know as of right now is gas stoves for the majority of the province aren't going anywhere yet. Gas fireplaces, on the other hand, as of right now, they're not going anywhere yet either. However, gas fireplaces could be seen as being used to heat homes. Therefore, the province may adopt something in the future regarding the installation of new gas fireplaces. And we also know that the province wants to be net energy zero by 2030. So we'll have to see how that plays out for new construction. That's for new construction. We talked a little bit about the incentives of getting a heat pump, but those incentives, will they be around forever? Well, it's hard to say. Obviously, heating a home with natural gas versus electric seems a lot cheaper as of right now if you don't have a heat pump. However, as that federal carbon tax starts to get higher and higher and higher, it's going to be proved to be getting more and more expensive to heat your home using gas than it will be with electricity. Will the government also start to rebate or give incentives to use electricity outside of just installing the new systems? That's yet to be seen. So there you go. That is one of the biggest ways that you can have an absolutely massive impact on greenhouse gas emissions from your own living situation. Now, we know there's other things that you can do, like upgrading your windows, upgrading your doors. You can upgrade the insulation in your home. You can get energy efficient appliances. You can make your light bulbs energy efficient by switching them all to LED. You can do composting. You can take shorter showers instead of baths. You could ride a bicycle to work, and you could go on an all-vegetarian diet. These are all amazing things that would have a great impact on your own personal footprint. But this video has now armed you to know the significant impact that just heating not only our homes, but also our water sources has on our own personal emissions. What do you think? I'm curious what you are doing to lessen your impact for greenhouse gases. I'm curious if you think you will upgrade your home with a heat pump that is going to significantly reduce your expenses over time. Where do you stand on this? Not only with the province's plan, but also your own local municipalities. Hit me up in the comments below and let me know. I also want to leave you with a tool that you can use to search out what rebates might be currently available to you if you're interested in upgrading your home in any way. Be sure to check out the Better Homes BC website, where they've got a handy dandy rebate search tool where you can put in any of the projects that you are considering doing and see what rebates might be available to you. I will leave the link below in the description. And of course, while you're down there in the description, if you do want to chat with myself or my team about purchasing a home in the South Surrey, White Rock, or Surrey, BC area, you do have access to our calendar where you can book some time to speak directly with me about your home purchase or sale. Either one's fine. I hope you got some really good value out of today's video. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing you on the next video. Cheers.